everyone. My name is Miata, and I am the president and founder of Abundance Bound. Abundance Bound is a financial education company designed specifically for everyone out there with a creative soul. It is my mission to help you get seriously powerful around your money. And I'm committed to doing that, sharing information that's not boring, not intimidating, and that, believe it or not, can actually be fun and I hope a little inspiring. So I welcome you to the Power of Prosperity, 9 specific action steps to start creating the financial success you deserve. So I'm assuming that everyone on this call watching this webinar is seriously interested in changing your financial picture, in building financial independence, and actually creating wealth. That's why you're here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a mini, what I call wealth assessment, that'll help give you a very basic idea of where you are financially right now. But more importantly, I do this to give you a sense of the topics that we're going to be talking about in our time together today. So I'll ask you, if you don't already have one, to please grab a piece of paper and a pen or pencil and go ahead and write the number 100 on your paper, okay? So you are starting with a perfect A+, a score of 100%. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and your job is to honestly score yourself based on your answers. So they're pretty much going to be yes or no questions, and after each one, I'm going to tell you how many points you may have to subtract from your score depending on what your answer is. One of the things that you'll learn as you work with Abundance Bound is that this company was designed to always be a safe place for you to just get honest about your financial situation. There is a lot of pretending that goes on around money, and it's incredibly harmful in terms of your financial goals. The reality is that when it comes to your money, honesty is the first step to progress. So please be as truthful as you can. This assessment is 100% for you. Okay? Here we go. So the first question is, have you had any negative conversations about money, let's just say in the last 48 hours, okay? If you've had any negative conversations about money in the last 48 hours, then please go ahead and subtract 10 points. So that'll bring some of your scores down from 100% to 90%. So what do I mean by a negative conversation? Well, this could be a conversation that you had with another person or with other people, or it could be a conversation that you had with yourself. You know, that little voice that a lot of us have going on in our heads, and it would sound like, I don't have enough money. I'm broke. I can't afford it. I'll never be able to afford it. Anything like that would be a negative conversation, and again, you're going to subtract 10 points. So that is one of the first things that we're going to talk about today. How do you get your head on straight, right, and start using good language around money? And why, really, is that even important? The next question, to be able to build wealth, you need to know exactly where you're starting from. So, can you honestly say that you know exactly how much money comes in to your household each month and exactly how much money goes out out. If your answer is no, then I need you to please subtract 15 points. It's really impossible to build financial security and independence without a solid foundation and a clear understanding of your starting point, which is completely connected to what's coming in and to what's going out. So today, we're going to be learning how to create that starting point, right? So not that you kinda, sorta know how much money is coming in and going out. You have to really know exactly how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. Okay, the third question is really a simple one. Do you have any consumer debt? Now, for this question, I don't count houses, I don't count cars, and I also don't include student loans. Obviously, we're going to have to handle those things. But what I'm talking about here is basically credit cards and or perhaps some personal loans, things that are generally called lifestyle debt. If you have any of that, then I need you to subtract 15 points. And we're going to be talking about how do you set up a plan to eliminate this debt so that your money can start going towards building assets and actually making you more money. So, the final question in this wealth assessment is, have you set clear financial goals? And have you attached dates to those goals, actually giving yourself deadlines? We always want to make sure that we're advancing towards the things that we want. And deadlines, they help to push us. They keep us in forward motion. A financial goal can be anything. I will buy my first house by January 1st, 2 years from now. Or in the next 6 months, I will reduce my debt by 25%. I will have X amount of money saved in the next, let's say, 12 months. All of these are examples of financial goals. So if you don't have those written down, right? If you don't, then please subtract 10 points. This is a really crucial item that we're going to be talking about. If you haven't really defined where it is that you want to end up, you have little chance, if any, of actually getting there. So take a second and take a look at your score. Did you get a passing grade, right? Did you get a grade that you would have been happy to bring home from school? When I was growing up in grade school, we had to bring home our tests and get them signed. So would this have been a test that you would have been okay asking mom or dad to sign for you? This shows you just a basic financial assessment. There are obviously more things involved in creating wealth, but you will be amazed by what a different place you'll be in financially simply by taking care of those 4 elements. So I know that some of you watching this webinar, some of you have attended other Abundance Bound webinars, and so you may already know my story. But for brand new listeners, let me just take a minute to tell you a little bit about me and how I came to be a financial mentor, speaker, and trainer. I am first and foremost an actor, and I am also a writer. And in the first few years after I moved to Los Angeles, I had bits of success here and there, a few small roles in films, some tiny parts on television, but it just wasn't consistent enough to pay the bills. So have any of you ever had what those of us who are artists tend to affectionately call, or not so affectionately call, a survival job? Well, I could win a prize for the number of different jobs that I did to make ends meet. I answered phones, I temped, I typed, I tutored for the SATs, I worked at Starbucks, I catered, I waitressed, I bartended. I could really go on. But basically, I was really struggling to find a balance between the need to pay my bills and the freedom and the flexibility that I needed for auditions. These were all essentially jobs where the pay was terribly inconsistent. I could never count on exactly how much I was going to make. And the irony was that I was working all the time. I was crazy busy, but I was still broke. I was miserable, and I had absolutely no time to pursue my acting and writing goals. And I started to feel like I was going into every creative opportunity, every audition that I got, I was showing up with an energy that I needed to get the job, right? Not for the creative fulfillment, but for the paycheck. And I am sure that that affected my performances and that it kept me from booking roles. So it's now been, almost 20 years since I came pretty close to hitting rock bottom. I had a ton of debt. I wasn't making ends meet. I was barely doing any acting at all. And honestly, I was pretty close to having to call it quits and move home with mom and dad. But I made a decision. I decided that I could and that I would learn how not to be broke, right? So that was the goal at the time. I felt financially clueless, but I also believed in my gut that I could learn how to master money management. So I went on a hunt. I read endless books. I signed up for countless free and low-cost seminars. And basically, I was fortunate enough to start working with some remarkable teachers who they were sharing really what I'm going to call straightforward principles and concepts that were helping lots of people to actually achieve financial stability. What I loved about the things that I was learning was that they were about actually taking action. I want you to think for a second. Have any of you ever been to a seminar where you've maybe been inspired, right? You've left the seminar just incredibly excited, but then you got home and you realized that you had absolutely no idea what you should actually do. Well, this was really different, okay? Since after starting my financial education and getting into action, I learned how to start cash-generating side businesses, right? I learned how to create consistent passive income while also legally reducing the amount that I had to pay each year in taxes. Believe it or not, I started to invest. I learned how to actually invest my money, and that was something that I was terrified to do, but I'm now someone who regularly invests. I'm invested in real estate. I actively invest in the stock market. And that is something that right now I can honestly say that I actually enjoy doing. But trust me, it would have terrified me not too many years ago. And what does all this mean, right? Because this isn't about patting myself on the back. What it means for me is that I now have significantly more time and energy for my acting classes, for my auditions, for the work that I am doing in this industry. An example is that I wrote a solo show that I performed in Los Angeles, I performed in New York. I now get to perform that show in festivals and in theaters around the country. My husband and I started a production company that has allowed us to develop, and we continue to develop some of our own projects. And I'm also a mom who most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time, I can get to my children's school games, their events, and that is something that means the world to me. Again, I just want to stress that this isn't, I don't want to toot my own horn, right? I share this to demonstrate that if you are willing to spend some of your time, not all of your time, not even most of your time, just some of your time learning about money and putting what you learn into practice in your life, because that's key. It will give you much more time and resources to focus on the things that you love. And so what happened is that I started thinking, what if I, as an actor, what if I had had this knowledge, this education early on, right? What if I'd learned this information in grade school or high school or college? What would I have done differently? And what would I have accomplished already? And that is what led me to the creation of Abundance Bound and the development of what I call the Artist's Prosperity System. I wanted there to be clear steps for people just like me, other artists, or just people who were passionate about designing their own lives, but who had absolutely no idea how to start being financially powerful. I wanted to talk about money in a way that made sense, in ways that weren't threatening, that weren't scary, and as I said in the beginning, in ways that could actually be fun. But the most important thing to me was that people leave their experiences with me, whether it be a short webinar like this one, or a longer course, or one of our products, or private coaching. I wanted to make sure that you left me knowing what you were going to do to strengthen your financial life, okay? Now, this webinar is supposed to be about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, but the purpose of this time is to give you an overview of the 9 steps of the system. Sometimes it's going to feel like I'm moving fast, but that's because my goal is to give you real value in this hour and to help you start realizing that you absolutely can take control of your money, even with the unpredictability that comes with being an artist. And by taking control, you can actually improve your chances of artistic success and certainly be much happier in the process. So I'm going to challenge you not to listen to me passively, okay? As we move through the steps, I'm asking that you listen thinking about and really taking notes on the things that you can do tomorrow, next week, next month, that will be an improvement in how you're managing your money. This is work that is designed to get you into action and to actually create significant positive changes in your finances. So, the first step of the system is change your financial mindset and how you talk about money, okay? Creating wealth is first about mindset. It's about your mental conditioning around your finances. So why? Let's look at why. Why is conditioning so important? Well, how you think and talk about money, it directly leads to the actions that you take, which directly leads to your results, okay? So the T stands for how you think about money. The L stands for your language around money, right? How are you speaking, talking about money? And those things directly lead to the actions that you take, so that's the A, and of course, we absolutely cannot separate our actions from our results, so that's the R, okay? All of us heard different conversations about money as we were growing up from our family, our teachers, etc. And because of this, some people have a better relationship with money than others. It has nothing to do with your talent or how smart you are. It's simply related to the conditioning of your mind. So think about the classic negative things that you may have heard in your house about money. And we've got some of them here, right? We can't afford it. Or money doesn't grow on trees. That's generally a big one, right? Who hasn't heard that? The rich just keep getting richer. I can remember actually learning in Sunday school that it was easier for a camel to move through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven, right? And so what did those things mean? Like that one in particular, right, had me sort of thinking that maybe wanting wealth, wanting to create abundance and freedom in my life, I worried about that being greedy or making me a not very nice person. And so the thing is that none of those ideas, none of those beliefs actually serve us, right? They actually, not only do they not serve us, but in many cases, they actively hold us back. They keep us from moving forward. So we have to be willing to put time into actually reprogramming our money mindset. It's not easy, but it is essential. So through our programs, what we do is we really work with our clients, teaching them how to start creating positive, powerful statements about your relationship with money, okay? You want to start utilizing affirmations on a constant basis. And guys, I am not talking about, I promise you, I'm not talking about, sitting on a pillow in a darkened room and saying, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, and expecting that something magical is going to happen, okay? But that doesn't mean that we can't be and shouldn't be actively working towards thinking thoughts that again move us forward. So instead of saying things like, "Oh, I'm horrible with money. I was bad in math at school, and I'm just a disaster when it comes to my finances," saying things like, "I am willing to put the time and the energy in to learning and understanding my money," right? That's the kind of statements, powerful statements that I'm talking about. It's also really helpful to start reading books listening to audio programs that will help you start to shift your thinking. And if you'd like recommendations, please feel free to email me, and I can suggest some great books, some great audio for you. And the minute you start thinking, oh, all this is silly, all this mindset stuff, right? Just remind yourself that your thoughts lead to your language, which leads to your actions, which leads to your results, that TLAR that we looked at a couple slides ago. And ask yourself, are the thoughts that I am thinking most of the time, right? Are those thoughts likely to help me get the results that I want in my life? Because if your honest answer is no, then this is definitely an area where you want to start spending real time, because everything else builds on this, okay? Step 2 of the Artist Prosperity System is clear your financial clutter and get it organized for good. Okay, clear your financial clutter and get it organized for good. This step is about doing the work necessary to figure out where you are financially right now, and then it's about putting the systems in place to ensure that you always know exactly where you are. You simply cannot expect to build success out of chaos. There are a couple parts to this step, okay? The first part of getting organized and clearing your clutter is developing a financial filing system. Your filing system doesn't have to look like mine or like anyone else's. It's just important to remember that piles are not a filing system, okay? Neither are boxes full of papers or bags full of receipts. You need to know where everything is and to be able to pull out financial documents within a minute's notice. Now, some of us are paper people, right? I'm a paper person. I have actual physical files where I can open a drawer and I can quickly pull out a file that has my bank statements and my credit card statements and my tax-deductible receipts in those actual physical files. Others of us are digital. We're completely digital, and that's fine as well, but you need to have a digital filing system so that, again, without a lot of stress or work, you can just click on a couple of folders and find exactly what you need in terms of your financial paperwork, okay? So that's the first part of clearing your financial clutter. But the second part of this step involves creating and maintaining your profit and loss statement, right? Now, this is not just about balancing your checkbook, which I know is something that nobody really does anymore. It's not about just going to the ATM or going online to see how much money you actually have in your account. You, at this moment, right? Because that doesn't tell you anything. What's in your account at this precise moment is not information about your financial starting point, because we all know that what's in your account at this precise moment can change just a moment later when someone cashes a check that you wrote them even months ago, right? So what you're going to do to determine your profit and loss is you are going to go through your credit card statements, your checkbooks, your bank statements, your receipts, all of the things that show you how you spend. And you are going to see exactly where it is that your money goes each and every month. And then you're going to look at those same bank statements or your check stubs. You're going to be looking at your deposits in order to see what money has been coming in, okay? For most of us artists, I am going to ask that you go back and that you gather this information for the last 6 months, okay? Now, if you're watching this webinar, it means that you have signed up for the free resources that are available on the Abundance Bound website. And so one of the things that you can do is you can download, one of the free things that you got is our chart of expenses, okay? It's called a chart of expenses. And that will help you work through this process. It's going to give you a financial report card. By gathering this information, right, it's going to allow you to create that point A, essentially. It's going to tell you exactly where it is that you are starting from right now. I really, really recommend to everybody that I work with that you start utilizing a computer program. Something like Quicken, right? Or you can even start with the completely free Mint.com, that's MINT, Mint.com, to track your monthly ins and outs, okay? You're going to need to get very specific about your expense categories and really take a few minutes. It'll only take you a few minutes each day or each week to actually categorize all of the things that you spend money on. But if you use a program, if you use something like Quicken or you use Mint.com, then once you've done the work to establish your current profit and loss, maintaining that becomes very easy. Because if you're just plugging your information, again, just taking a few minutes every day or every week to plug in that information, then you're going to be able to, at the push of a button, always see what your averages are. How much are you spending on groceries? How much are you spending on your car, on gas for your car? Or if you live in a city like New York, on the subway or taxis, how much are you spending on your craft, on your headshots, or your classes, or that script writing class that you took, right? We need to be able to track all of that so that you can easily see where you are and what your progress has been, okay? So that's step 2. Moving on to step 3. Step 3 is build a strong vision for your financial future, okay? Now, in the last step, in step 2, right, you do the work to get some clarity around where you've been financially, right? And now in this step, what you're going to do is you want to get really clear focus on where is it that you actually want to go, all right? Now, a lot of us are really good at the where we want to go part, but we haven't ever done that by first getting an honest evaluation of where you are right now. And so we need to have both points. We need to have point A, that's where you've been, and then point B, where you're going. And the space between the two, the space between point A and point B, is essentially your financial gap, right? And getting from one place to the next is going to require a strategic, informed plan. However, once you've defined your point A and your point B, you can chart a course to get there, right? I cannot stress enough the importance of actually writing down and fully visualizing your goal. This is something that I talk about a lot. It is so easy to ignore this step, but it has been completely proven in study after study that people who write down their goals reach them significantly more consistently than those who don't. The next step is implement techniques for automatic and stress-free debt elimination. This is huge for most people. Think about how much anxiety your debt causes you and just ask yourself how it would feel to be rid of that. Many of us are caught in a debt cycle. Okay, so we don't make quite enough money to meet our living expenses, so we charge some of our expenses on a credit card. But then the next month, nothing has changed, right? We still don't make quite enough money to live, but now we also have interest charges to pay. So the gap between what we're earning and what we're spending has just gotten a little bit bigger. So this means that we then have to charge even more of our living expenses, which means we have even greater interest charges, which means the gap between what we're earning and what we're spending gets even bigger, and so on and so forth, right? So it's a cycle, like we call it a debt cycle, because it can feel almost impossible to break. So in this step, you learn how to put an individual and an automatic plan in place to get rid of your debt. The key is making it automatic, all right? Once the plan is in place, you'll find it remarkably easy to follow, and you won't have to think about it anymore. And this, I think, is absolutely critical when it comes to debt elimination. I don't believe in the idea that you can't do anything else, that you can't be saving money, that you can't be investing money until you get rid of your debt. Psychologically, that kind of teaching, and it's a really common teaching, but I think that that kind of teaching traps many of us because all of our energy is essentially over here thinking about and stressing about our debt, right? And nothing much ever changes. The alternative is much better, right? You put your debt plan in place, and then you don't worry about your debt because you know that it is being handled, all right? So now your energy can go towards saving and building wealth, getting into what we call a wealth cycle. Now, what's a wealth cycle? Because it's kind of depressing looking at the debt cycle, so let's look at the other side, right? This is where some of your earned money goes into, I call it a wealth account, you could call it a freedom account, an independence account, right? But this is an account that you are only ever going to use that money to purchase assets, right? Things that have value and that can actually create income. So what happens is then the extra income that your assets create is added to the money that you're already depositing into your wealth account. So now the wealth account grows a little bit faster, and that allows you to buy additional or larger assets, which create even greater amounts of income. And so now you can add that income to the money that you're already depositing, and so on and so forth, right? So again, it's a cycle, right? But I know that every single person watching this will agree that it is a far more exciting and empowering cycle than the debt cycle, okay? So this step really has two sides to it. We're first going to get absolute clarity around what your debts are, and then based on what your specific debts are and what your earnings are, we're going to put a specific plan in place to knock down that debt. And I know some people, they get discouraged because they look at the plan and they say, oh yeah, but that's a 10-year plan to get rid of my debt, or it's a 8-year plan to get rid of my debt, and I want to be rid of my debt now. But here's the thing, and I have seen this time and time again with countless clients. When you put the plan in place and you are actively executing that plan and you focus then on other things, you stop worrying about the debt and you focus on growth and on starting even in tiny ways to get yourself into that wealth cycle, what happens is that you end up accelerating the debt cycle. So the cycle that getting out of the debt cycle. So that plan that looked like it was a 12-year plan suddenly becomes a 4-year plan because you're focusing on other things, and that helps you expand and grow faster. Okay? So step 5, moving on to step 5, is make financial abundance a priority. And this is really an important step. So much so that I'll tell you, I have really thought about when I work with clients on working on this step really earlier in the process, like working on this after changing your financial mindset. Because what this step is about is it's about really looking at how often we use the I'm so busy excuse or the I can't afford it excuse, right? So I'm too busy to learn the computer program that's going to help me organize my finances. I can't afford the class or the book that is going to teach me some financial skills. You have to take a hard look at where those excuses have gotten you so far, okay? Prosperity isn't going to just happen. We sometimes wish it would. You know what? We probably all the time wish that it would. But it isn't going to just happen. We have to be willing to find time to create it. If I said to you that, let me give you an example. If I said to you that being a great parent is a priority for me, right? If I said that to you, you would automatically assume that I am putting time and resources into my children, right? We know that I couldn't be sort of ignoring my children all the time and still say and mean that being a great parent is a priority to me, okay? So that's one example. We know that what making being a great parent a priority, we know what that means, what that looks like, right? If I said being a great actor is a priority to me, right? We would all assume you would have questions for me. You would say, great, so what classes are you taking, right? What books are you reading? What scenes are you working on? How are you actively working to build and develop your craft, right? So making financial abundance a priority is the exact same thing. It means that I have to be willing to put time and resources into understanding and working on my money, right? I absolutely understand the fear of getting distracted from what's important to you, right? But what are are the distractions that exist for you right now? There are so many distractions. The horrible day jobs, and I had many of those. The mounting credit card debt, stacks of unpaid bills, all of that overall financial stress that could be eliminated if you take the time to handle your financial situation. So what this step is about is it's about finding the room in your schedule to consistently do the work necessary to get to where you want to be financially, okay? And it has to be actually written down. You know, one of the things that I'll often say is that if you and I had an appointment, let's say we had set a date to have a coffee, right? And something came up for you so that you could no longer meet me. You could no longer meet me to have that coffee. Wouldn't you call me? Wouldn't you reach out to me and reschedule our date, right? You would. You wouldn't just leave me sitting there in the coffee shop waiting for you. We have to make those same kinds of appointments for working on our money, for working on the things that are important to us, right? So when I say, all right, I am going to learn this new software to keep my finances organized, I have to actually be willing to make an appointment to do that. I have to actually be willing to schedule a half hour, an hour into my day in order to learn that software. And if something comes up, because life happens, right? If something comes up where I cannot keep that appointment, I have to have the same respect for myself as I would for any other person that I've made a date with, and I have to reschedule that appointment. So making financial abundance a priority is not about giving it lip service. It's about actually saying, I am willing and committed to grow financially, to learning and doing the things that I need to do to manage my money effectively. And then it's about scheduling that time so that you can actually make it happen. Okay? So moving on to step 6. And step 6 is called Learn to Really Earn. Okay, learn to really earn. Now, I think that this step is really fun because this is where we start to focus on valuable strategies that allow you to legally save significant money in taxes, right? We also teach you how to run your artistic career like the business that it is. So let me give you an example, okay? So let's say that I'm an actor, right? You don't even have to say it. I am an actor, right? And so I have a checking account. And I need to pay my rent. And so I write a check out of my checking account. And I need to buy groceries, right? And so I swipe my ATM card and I pay for those groceries out of my checking account. But then it's time for me to pay for acting class, okay? And I write my acting teacher a check right out of the same checking account. Or I need new headshots and I pay for those out of the same checking account. So what this is called is commingling. And just like in this picture that is up on the screen right now, it is where I am commingling my personal expenses and my business,
which consists of budgeting,
okay? And it goes even further because let's say that I have a day job. So one of the day jobs that I had, I was working at Starbucks, okay? So I get paid for my job at Starbucks, and I go and I deposit that money into my checking account, right? But then I book a commercial or I book a guest star role on a television show, and I get paid for that. And what do? I deposit that money into the same checking account. So I am totally all mixed up. My acting expenses are mixed with my personal expenses. My acting earnings are mixed with my personal earnings, my day job earnings. And that is when it comes to running a business, which is what we are all doing, okay? As artists, we are running a business. That is a big no-no, okay? And we know this because we know that if we think about any kind of real business, right? And I say that in quotes, any sort of real business, like if you thought about the CEO of IBM, right? Or Walt Disney, right? We know that CEO is not paying for company expenses with their personal account, right? And we also know, or we certainly hope, that CEO is not paying for personal expenses with the corporate money, with the business money, right? But we, as artists, do it all the time. We mix everything together. And that makes our growth, the growth of our business, impossible to track, right? And it can also really get us in trouble when it comes time not to file our taxes, but should we ever be audited? Because one of the biggest ways to differentiate a hobby from a business is the clear separation of accounting. Now, here's an area where everybody always says, but Miata, what if my business isn't yet earning enough money to support itself? That's fine. There are plenty of businesses that operate at a loss for years at a time, and it's perfectly okay for you to loan your business money. But you actually have to loan your business money. You have to demonstrate that you understand the difference between your personal life and your business life. And when you move money over to your business, you want to actually record and keep records that that's a loan you're making that one day your business will pay back to you, okay? Now, step 6 is also where we help our students to evaluate and develop business ideas that can put them in control of their income and in control of their schedule. Now, let me just say here that this isn't necessarily for everyone, this part of this step. If you're someone who has a sideline job where you're relatively happy, and what do I mean by that? Okay, the job isn't your dream, but it allows you to pay your bills. It provides you at least some of the flexibility that you need so that you can continue your artistic pursuits. You may not have any interest in changing that or any reason to change that. But many of us don't have that, right? Many of us are in sideline jobs that are literally sucking the life and energy right out of us. And that is also negatively affecting the pursuit of the things that we love. There are so many incredible ways to make money out there. I am consistently blown away by the really exciting businesses that some of my clients have started and grown. We were, I think, as creative people, many of us were daredevils when we were kids, right? We came up with all kinds of ideas to bring in extra cash. But as artists, so often we get trapped by the thoughts that say, all I can do, all that will work for me is to be a temp or to wait tables or to bartend. It's not that there's anything wrong with those things if you are enjoying them. But I think what I love most about what I do, and I really love what I do, but one of my favorite parts is watching clients really break through those barriers and start actually getting inspired by the ways that they make money to support their artistic careers, rather than, as I said, having the energy drained from them, which is what many of us are experiencing in our survival jobs. So take a look at your skill sets, right? What is your fastest path to cash? Okay? On its face, it might not be something glamorous or hugely exciting, but what can be inspiring is when you build something that allows you the freedom to do more of what you love. Okay, that's the goal of this step, to actually get inspired by the ways that you make money that fuel the pursuit of your artistic goals and dreams. Okay. So, step 7. Step 7 is accelerate your wealth by investing regularly. This is scary. I know that it's scary because I was terrified at the thought of investing. Investing is something that many of us think about doing, we talk about doing it, we have to actually do it, okay? Not right away. I'm not suggesting that you're all going to run out tomorrow and start investing in the stock market. Yes, you are first going to have to get financially right side up. You are first going to handle all of the steps that we've covered so far. But in the meantime, what I want you to do is I've asked you to start educating yourself with regards to potential opportunities. Start learning about and discovering what kinds of investing interest you, so that once you've built up a little bit of money in that wealth account that we talked about back in step 4, right, you will be ready to start. There are opportunities out there, I promise you, that require minimal amounts of money to get started. There is lots of advertising out there that is really designed to make us think, oh, I have to wait until I'm super successful. I have to wait until I have a ton of money before I can start investing, okay? But I promise you that there are opportunities that really you can get started with a very small amount of money, but that will get you in the critical cycle of having your money actually working for you. And the other thing that I always ask people to consider is, when do you want to be learning? When do you want to be making mistakes? Because all of us are going to make some investing mistakes. Do you want to be doing that with small amounts of money, or do you want to be doing it with huge amounts of money? I think that the answer really is we want to be learning and trying and exploring investing with smaller amounts of money, so that we really have the opportunity to get a feel, to dip our toe in, to see what kind of investor we want to be. Do we want to be passive investors? Do we want to be more active investors? Maybe passive with some of our money, and active, which just means like you're really more involved with the making of the decisions with other parts of our money, right? But all of this is a process that you have to be willing to explore, and you have to be willing to start, okay? So step 8. Step 8 is surround yourself with other wealth builders. Who are successful people that you know, right? And or that you want to know. Can you sit down with them? I really encourage you to start networking. Don't just talk and meet with other people who do exactly what you do. Start building relationships with other people in other areas of your industry. You want to expand the group of people who see you as a peer, as a friend, as an equal, rather than just someone who wants to be hired. Okay? Opportunities will result from some of those relationships. You have no idea what opportunities will come to you by simply being willing to expand your circle. I'm not talking about going out there just trying to meet people who you think can help you. It's really about, I think that networking is really about expanding your circle by really working yourself to add value into the lives of other people, into new people, not just the people that you've been with day in and day out for years. And it's also about not being a lone ranger. If other people are having success in areas that you're interested in, if other people are making things happen for themselves, why not be mentored by them? You want to start building a team of people who will support you on your journey. Your team should lift you up. We want to start really being conscious of having people on our team that believe in us and that want to support us in being successful. Really just working together, if that makes sense. Okay? So that's step 8. It's about building relationships. And that leads us to the last and most important step, right? Step 9, and this step I call be persistent on your path to prosperity. A whole lot of P's in that one. Be persistent on your path to prosperity. And what do I mean by that? Really simply, never give up. Okay? Working on your money, it is like riding a bike. It's like doing anything else that's new. If you don't quit, you will absolutely get results. But you have to make the decision to keep learning, to keep developing financially, to keep making this new way of being around money a part of your life until it becomes automatic, right? There are going to be hurdles. There are going to be roadblocks. It's really the same thing, but places where you feel discouraged. You feel, oh, this is hard. You'll move forward in terms of knocking down your debt, and then something will happen, and you'll maybe add another few hundred or a few $1,000s to your credit card, right? We will have ups and downs when it comes to our financial journeys. The key is deciding that it's a journey that you're committed to. This is work that I firmly believe will change your life, okay? I ask you to think about what would it be like if money wasn't such a your life, if you could do what you wanted to do rather than what you had to do, isn't that worth some of your time, some of your effort right now, right? That is why Abundance Bound is here. That's why I created this company. If this is information that has resonated with you, if your finances are an area of your life where you know you want to make changes, but you feel a little, or maybe more than a little, apprehensive about finding the right way to go about doing it, I really encourage you to spend some time on the Abundance Bound website. Check out the programs that we offer. Look at the different ways that we can support you in developing into a financially stable, right? Because that's first, and then a financially thriving artist. So getting into action, and you remember that's really where we started today. I said that I was going to ask you to participate in this class, this webinar, thinking about the actions that you're going to take. But getting into action is sometimes easier said than done. Progress only comes when we are willing to be accountable for the actions that we say we're going to take. So I suggest that whenever you participate in any learning opportunity, whether it's a webinar like this one or a workshop, or even if you just finish a new book, right, that you got to teach yourself something, I suggest that you ask and answer these 4 questions. What did you learn? What are you going to do? By when? And to whom will you be accountable, right? So who are you going to tell that you're going to do it? Who can hold you accountable, support you in whatever way you need, but really help you make sure that you get it done? These 4 questions will help you ensure that you're not just gathering information, because it's really easy to stay busy gathering information. Rather, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are actually taking forward-moving action on the things that we're learning in order to create real growth and improvements in our lives. My goal at Abundance Bound is to provide you with the education and the tools that you need to get to the financial place that you want to be. So, this is a quote, okay, that has always really resonated with me and that I want to share with you in closing today. If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life he imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. And that is Henry David Thoreau, okay? I am here to support you on your journey. I want nothing else other than for you to be able to advance confidently in the direction of your dreams. I hope that you will please feel free to email me your questions, or even better, go ahead and post them on the Abundance Bound Facebook page. I promise to answer them as soon as possible. And it's a great way to kind of participate in a dialogue with your fellow artists who are also on this journey towards financial strength and stability. So with that, I will say goodbye. I thank you for joining in. I look forward to hopefully getting to know you and getting to actually work with you over the next few weeks and months. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.